Hello, so today I'll show you how a system that can basically triangulate block position using Sculk sensors in a 3D space. Now basically triangulation is mostly used in a 2D space or environment where you have a 2D space and you plot a graph on the 2D space, but here it's gonna be 3D. So I know you probably don't get what I mean right now, but you'll see. So for example, here we have 9 cobblestone blocks. So if I break this one, it gives me an output here locating the exact block that I broke. So if I click this button, it's clear. So now before I start getting into it, how this thing works and how you can make it yourself, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, join my Discord server, and yeah, let's get into it. So just to demonstrate, if I click this, you see it has located the block again. So let me just clear this. Okay, so firstly, how this thing works, or I should say what exactly is this thing doing. So here we got a cobblestone generator which constantly generates and replaces any cobblestone that we break, and we can detect which cobblestone we broke using these 3 Sculk sensors. Now the Sculk sensor on the right and the left, it helps me locate the X and Z coordinate of the block, and this one is for the Y coordinate. So okay, it's hard to explain, but I'll try my best. So if I open this book right here, you see these 9 numbers over here. These 9 numbers represent the 9 blocks of cobblestone. Now every time I break one of these, I get different outputs from different Sculk sensors, and these output are represented over here. So the first one gives, so if I break the cobblestone number 1, which is this one, I get an output of 8 from the first sensor, 6 from the second, 4 from the third. Now realize a pattern here. The number 1, 2, 3, they have the same Y output of 6. 4, 5, 6 has the Y output of 8, and 7, 8, 9 has the Y output of 10. Now we can use this information to give us 3 outputs. Now this output represents that the cobblestone that is broken is from the first layer. This one represents it's from the middle layer, and this one represents that it is from the lower layer. Okay, and then we got 3 outputs over here, and I'll explain you what those are. Now how do I okay, so these 3 outputs are basically the vertical position of the line that the cobblestone is broken in. So how, just like these 3 outputs represent the horizontal layer of the cobblestone that is broken, those 3 represent the vertical layer. And how I get those outputs is kind of simple. So basically we have we have a comparison system. So firstly it compares these 2 numbers, so 8 and 4. It checks which number is greater. So because in the first case, okay, wait, I opened the wrong book. Yep. So if I check the first block, the output of the X is greater than Z, which means the block is on the left hand side. In the second case, both the outputs of X and Z are same, which means it's from the center. And in the third case, Why is it opening that? Okay, in the third case the first one is smaller and the last one is greater, which means it's from the right side. Okay, so here's a really complicated circuit that it's basically doing all the comparison stuff. So here is the first comparison part and here is the second one, and then we kind of like take the output from under the ground over here, and here's a AND gate. Now what this AND gate basically does is, let's say the output of this sensor is greater than this one, so it will only turn on this one and I will get an output over here. But if, let's say in the case of block number 2, both the outputs are same, so how do we detect that? So we have an AND gate. If both the outputs are on, that means it will trigger the AND gate. But now we don't need the outputs of these individually, so we have a circuit here that cancels out the side outputs whenever the AND gate is is like working. So yeah, I know it's hard to explain. I'm not explaining it in the best way right now, but you'll get it. And then here we have this a bunch of AND gates, and what these AND gates do is they take these 6 outputs, which is the 3 vertical positions and 3 horizontal positions, and they combine them to get the exact block. So it's kind of like how you take the x-axis and y-axis in a graph and then plot a point where they both like get together. So yeah, it's somewhat like that. Now what the Sculk sensors, how the Sculk sensors work, it's I will represent that here. So let's say this glazed terracotta block is a Sculk sensor and these are my cobblestone blocks. So if I ask this Sculk sensor, hey Sculk sensor, tell me if the block is 1 block away, like if the block is 1 block far. So whenever I will break this block, it will say the block is 1 block away from me. When I break this one, it will say it's 1 block away from me, and same for all these 2 as well. So it can't really tell the difference between these 4 blocks. For it will give the same output for all these 4 blocks. However, if I include a second Sculk sensor, when I break, let's say this block, it will tell me that, well, this block is 1 block away from me, and this one will tell me this block is 1 block away from me. But when I break this one will tell me that it is 1 block away from me. However, this Sculk sensor will say this is definitely more than 1 block away from me. It's not 1 block away from me. That's very obvious for me. So that way we can find out a difference in the pattern. We can create a difference in the pattern by getting like multiple Sculk sensors, and we can actually detect that there are 2 separate blocks and not just the same block, which is 1 block away from the sensor. Now for the vertical positioning, it's kind of hard because both of these Sculk sensors can't tell difference between this block and this block. They think they are the exact same block. They will say both of these blocks are 1 block away from me. However, this Sculk sensor, because it is slightly lower in position, it will say that this block is definitely closer compared to this one. So it will give different outputs for both of these blocks, and that's exactly what I have done here. I've used these 2 to locate the x and z coordinate, and this one for the y coordinate. And that's pretty much how this thing works. There's not much to it that I can explain. And yes, I think this system is kind of dependent on a bug right now, because the Sculk sensors are not detecting blocks pushed by pistons. So yeah, the cobblestone generator is not detected by these Sculk sensors. And over here I'm using a pulse extender because, well, the signal takes time to reach over here. And here's my reset button. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, join my Discord server, and I'll see you next time. And yeah, I'll try and link a download link to the world so you can check it out for yourself. And yeah, see you next time.